Hello, you guys. Welcome to Spiritually Rich. My name is Carrie Killeen, and you are in for a special treat today. It is a beautiful September day, post um, solstice, and I just wanted to be outside because, well, I love September, and I love that you guys are here today. You've been on my heart so much, and there has been so much that we have been through as spiritual women. And we're not done yet, okay? But I want to give you some peace of mind, some peace within your heart that the world that we have already chosen within our hearts to create is in fact happening. It is definitely happening. But this time we are in a pause. We are in a lot of us in a void space. I'm just going to come a little closer to you guys. A lot of us are in a void space, and this is going to be dedicated to the women who are spiritual leaders, and you are badasses, right? You've been at it for a while. You either have a business or you have had a business, and maybe what you had crumbled. All of a sudden, it just stopped happening. Um, and that can be very scary when something that you have relied on, something that has been your life blood, your life force energy, all of a sudden gone. Okay. And yeah, this has happened to me. I mean, this has happened to me where one moment something was there, a spiritual business, a family, my kids, whatever. One minute was there, the next minute was gone. And I was thrown into an absolute collapse, absolute chaos. And I always say that chaos is the predecessor to divine order. So whenever something is not in harmony or in peace, if your heart isn't in harmony, if your mind is kind of feeling chaotic right now, you're definitely not alone. Okay. So I'm going to give you I'm going to shine some light on where you might be experiencing some heaviness, some dips in faith, because this is definitely something that I have experienced so many times where, I've wanted to give up because it didn't seem like I was ever going to break break out of the shell or come up out of the earth, right? Because if you don't know yet, right, why you were born, if you don't know yet what that next thing is that you're meant to be leading or sharing, and maybe you see like bits and pieces of it. Like for me, I can see the future in my dreams, but I could also see, like, for instance, every morning I can see little snippets of the day that I'm going to be living. All right. And this wasn't always the case. I used to only see darkness, and I used to only hear my fears. And that's what part of being in the void space is all about. You lack clarity, you lack the voice that is necessary for whatever the message that you want to share. And when you speak, it actually feels like this voice isn't mine. This voice isn't mine. These messages aren't mine. How do I break out of that? So I'm wondering if, because this is a live recording and it is going to be put on my podcast, but for any of you who are here for the live recording, in the chat, if any of you are experiencing these spiritual symptoms of being in the void space, not knowing, feeling unsafe sometimes, but then also feeling safe and protected other times, seeing bits and pieces, but not able to put together the pieces. I'd just love to know if anybody here is experiencing that. Okay. The other thing that I'm hearing to talk about is spiritual warfare, that we really have to know how to get out of traps that are created through frequency bands that exist as agendas, spiritual agendas to confuse us. So I had a coach when I first started my business, my entrepreneurship, who used to say, own your mind, own your thoughts. And this is really, really true. I also had a friend who basically said, if it's encouraging, loving, kind, and it lights you up on the inside, that is God's voice. And God's voice right now is what we want to turn the volume up on. We want to turn the volume up on the wisdom that we have inside of us. We want to turn the volume up on our faithfulness. And we want to turn the volume up on our prayers. All right. So those are 3 or 4 very powerful things. I think I said 4. So you want to own your mind. If it's not your thoughts, and if it's creating confusion inside of your body, that is spiritual warfare. All right. If it is out of alignment with love, that is what we are here to eradicate. We we need to batten down the hatches, right? Because the game is on, and the darkness is ramping up. I know, I saw recently that there was a line, and that, like, you get on the other side of the line and you go up. Like, you align with your soul, you align with God, you align with the higher plan, and that's where humanity is going. That's a clear direction. And it doesn't just mean it doesn't mean saying yes in your mind. It means doing whatever it takes to get on the other side of that line. And this, my dears, this is where the separation really truly does occur, because we can be a yes inside of our hearts for the life that we want. But then when it comes to the actual execution of those things, what I see happening in a very clear division right now is some people are willing to be a yes to it and physically be a yes, right? Physically be like, okay, I'm going to be 2 feet on this side of the line. Boom. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Boom. Right? Even if it's hard, boom. I'm going to speak those words. I'm going to have those conversations. I'm going to make sure that I'm honoring the yes that I'm bringing inside, that I have burning inside of my heart. Right? And then there's another camp, and that other camp, it's not that that's bad. The other camp is a yes inside of their hearts. But then when it comes to the actual execution, right? The things that have to be hard, the hard conversations, the hard decisions, then that is where a lot of people are staying stuck, and that is the stuck energy. Okay? So a couple different things that are really important here. Number 1, navigating the void space is where you walk the line between what once was and what is to be created. And when you are in the void space, it is very alluring to be tempted by spiritual warfare, to be tempted by, not God, right? But the voices saying, the fear pulsating through you, or the fear saying, if you do this, then you'll die, right? And if you'll do this, or it's gonna hurt, right? But here's the deal, you guys. We have to actually go through that in order to get whatever is promised on the other side of that. And this morning I was reading the Bible, and I was so excited. I read Genesis, And then I read, I'm into the Exodus, I think it is, and I'm reading about Moses, which I got so excited about because it was about a year and a half ago that I asked for very clear guidance from the divine, and I got woken up in the middle of the night with literal, like, a voice calling out my name, and then I was given directives. I was told to go to an island. I shared a little bit about this island in another podcast, but it's an island. It's close to the island where my husband and I got married. It's a spiritual portal. I no longer participate in spiritual portals because I understand that the energy in a portal can be both like black and light. So I have actually been stuck in energetic portals before, and I've had to reclaim my soul from energetic portals. So I no longer participate in portals, but I did go right before this portal was closed to claim codes from Moses. Okay, this was about the same time that I started getting downloads for a program called 40 Days to Freedom. This was a program that I ran for my private clients where it was all about replicating Moses. And when I heard you're going to coach 40 Days to Freedom and you're actually going to help free humanity, of course, just like Moses, I was like, no, not me. I don't have it in me. I'm still stuck. And then, right, everything was downloaded into me. I said yes to it, even though I was scared. I said yes to traveling, and telling my husband, okay, well, we've got to go to Culebrita. We have to, have this experience, which he's always on board for. But point being, when I got the guidance, I said yes. And then I executed even on the hard things. And there were a lot of things in that time that I had to make decisions on that were very, very difficult for me to make decisions on. But I did them because they were clear directives from God. And that's how we are going to, when you're in the void space, when you don't know, and the lifeboat shows up in front of you, okay, and the lifeboat's God's like, get on the lifeboat, this is where we go into the next dimension. But if the lifeboat shows up and you don't actually get in it, then it's not that there isn't another plan, it's just that that takes longer for you to get to that place. All right, now I'm hearing God say, like, remind them of the promised land. All right, so the Israelites were being freed from Egypt, and Moses shows up and at God's directive and says, you're going to free these people. And of course, Moses was all worried and I don't know what I'm doing. But God said, but I chose you to do that, right? I chose you to do that. And you don't need to know what you're doing. All you need to do is follow 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 me, follow my messages, follow what I'm sharing with you, okay? And stay faithful, stay faithful. And so as Moses led, he doubted himself, but God kept encouraging him. He had to make difficult decisions that didn't feel rational at the time, right? Not rational, but he kept going. And this is where we are right now, you guys. Like, there's no stopping right now, especially when there's no stopping when the opening is there, right? There's no stopping. If there is no opening for you right now, meaning the lifeboat hasn't showed up for you, you haven't been like provoked or like woken up and been like, okay, or, sometimes I just fall into people's laps and they're like, I have no idea how you got into my inbox. I have no idea why I clicked on this link. This is how God works through a higher plan, right? And when you're in a space where you're on the tightrope, this is so happening. You're on the tightrope between the past and the present, and everything's coming up. Everything's coming up. It's time to get 2 feet in, no matter what it is and this won't apply to everybody, no matter where you are or how hard you think it is, it's also time to do the things that you've been avoiding doing. Okay. So when we're in the void, we're like in the culmination, we're in like a mixing pot or a melting pot of everything, all the possibilities. Okay. But those possibilities are things that we actually have to execute on, right? Because if we don't execute on and go all out and empty the bucket, so to speak, right? Then we're not actually saying a full body yes to the divine. We're actually saying a partial yes and doing what's easy, but we're saying a no to the other things because it's hard. Okay. In the wilderness, in order to get to the promised land, the land of milk and honey, the Israelites had to say yes to the things that looked scary, right? They had to do the things that were hard. And this is how we crack out, you guys. This is how we free ourselves. And I'm speaking to you from a place of doing the hard things consistently and seeing, because you don't get to the other things. You don't get to the promised land unless you actually do the things that you're afraid of, unless you actually do the things that you are resisting. And part of this has even been like me as a leader saying, I've been too soft. I've been too gentle. I've been too easy. And it's no wonder that people are kind of just staying behind the scenes. The other thing is right now, God's looking for people to lead who actually are going to have the courage to be able to do that. There's a lot of people in the spiritual community who say that they want something, but then if it's hard, like harder than hard, like some of the hardest things they've ever done, you have to see that the relative payoff for that, the relative payoff, what God is asking, what you're asking God for, here's the deal. What you're asking God for in the fifth dimension, God's going to be like, okay, but what are you willing to do in order to get what that is? Right? And so for me, I just look back at all the really, really challenging conversations that I had. The challenging conversations when I had no money, but I was a heartfelt yes. A conversation that I had, with my husband when my business was like, I saw the income in my business tank and I had to tell my husband that, right? The conversation where I had the experience where I had to, I had clients that were no longer aligned, and I had to let go of those clients, right? Those were really, really, really hard moments. And as I walked through those hard moments, what happened on the other side of it was God met me. God met me, truth met me, abundance met me, love met me, the feelings of being safe, the feelings of seeing how God truly does work. And for all of us, it's time to take it from where we are and turn it up a dial, like a full dial. Because it took me, it's not, well, I had to tap into courage to share this message today. All right. Because normally I'm like, hey, blah, blah, blah. But again, what good is that going to do if I never move the needle in my community? And if I let you guys know that, like, yeah, everything's going to be okay. Well, no, that's not true. Everything's not going to be okay. It's not. Especially if you're someone who's asking for another reality and you're meant to be building that other reality, nothing will be okay until you actually build that bridge. When you build the bridge, you unlock different dimensions. When you build the bridge, that takes courage and faith and tenacity, and it takes doing the things that you are afraid of doing. When you build that bridge, the reality drops in, but it doesn't drop in until you build the bridge. And this is a This is about building a foundation in which God is going to pour abundance into you. And this is, of course, this is what we all want. We know that it's our birthright. But if it was that easy, then God would just be raining down provisions and fruitfulness and abundance and all the things that we know are meant for us in the land of milk and honey, right? But until God sees you move, and I mean move, take your fear with you when you go. Take it with you. Because if you don't take it with you and cross that threshold, then nothing changes. Nothing changes. And God does, this is what God says. God says, uh-huh, mm-hmm. And I see that she still believes in fear. I see it. I see that she still doesn't trust me. I still that she's still holding on. She is still holding on to that story. Cracking the story means boom, get in. Do the thing. Don't shut your intuition down. Don't shut the what you're knowing is down. Open that up. Trust it. Even if it feels irrational. And if you don't know how to trust yourself, because this is how we actually get out, you guys. This is how we get out every single day. Okay, what do I do? What do I do to create freedom today? Right? And sometimes it's simple. Sometimes, I mean, today it was like, okay, go buy your daughter's birthday present. Yesterday it was make some stew. What message can I share to, here's the thing, I got to ruffle some feathers in here. I've got to ruffle the feathers. Why? Because I know how it works. I know how it works. I know what it's like to be afraid. I know what it's like to tremble. I know what it's like to be like, no, I can't do that. But then I also know what it's like to feel what's on the other side of that. Whether it's the conversations that you have, whether it's and those are the action steps, right? But there's nothing to fear. Here's the deal. There's nothing to fear. It's just your emotions that are so wrapped up in a mind game. And your mind will get you nowhere. Your heart is going to get you everywhere. Okay. So it is 100% safe to follow your heart. You know what? Here's the thing. I get rejected a lot. People say yes to me a lot in my coaching services, but most of the time, and it's really because I only work with a certain type of person, most of the time, people just dream about getting to a place in spirituality where you actually are in leadership, right? Or you're actually aligned with your soul, you know? But then when it comes to the actual getting those steps and doing those hard things, that's where it separates. That's where the division gets, because people get afraid. All right, people get afraid. But here's what I'm saying to you. Fear's not real. In order to get where you want to go next, you're going to have to do things that you have not done. And as you do them, you are saying to God, I mean what I say. I mean what I say. So today, my directive from God was get in there, stop being nice. I mean, you can be nice. I mean, this is love. This is like the biggest love that I can share with you guys, is that if I can do it, and I am nobody special, God doesn't choose people who, God chooses underdogs. God chooses people who are planted in muck. And there's a reason. It's called testimony. Because on the other side of the muck, on the other side of the void, you get to stand in a testimony. And without the testimony, without the tribute, without saying, here's where I was, here's what I did, and here's what happened, then we're not actually in service to God. So this is where, what are they? Receipts. God wants receipts. God wants to be like, I took this woman and I sent her a lifeboat. Here, get on. Get on with this. Get on with this kid. Get on with Carrie. Get on with this spiritual guide. Okay. Get on. I sent you the lifeboat. And then use your testimony to create your reality. Share. That, in other words, that means share. Don't keep it to yourself. Don't keep all the blessings that you receive because a lifeboat was sent to you. Don't keep it for yourself. The other thing that I'm saying is like, we're all prophets here, right? We're supposed to be preaching about the good things that come through faithfulness, the good things that come through our dedication to our faithfulness to our dreams, to faithfulness to the vision that God gave us, and that some of us are able to see very clearly. And yes, I can tell you that it is very frustrating to be in the gap, and it's frustrating to have this stray hair. It's frustrating to be in the gap, not know how to get clear in the gap, not know how to navigate the gap or the void, not know how to create what's next, because you're not going to create what is next using the same tools. That's why we're here today, right? Because we want what's next. You want what's next. And it's going to also cost you what you're holding on to. Very, very clear with that. God's going to say, I need you to let go of something so that I can carry you, so that I can bring you, so that I can guide you. And I've chosen people as guides, right? God's handpicked people to guide and help with ascension, to help with getting closer to God. Our number one job right now, you guys, is get close to God. Get close to God. Get close to God, and solutions come. Get close to God, and whatever the desire is, it starts to get into motion. To get close to God, you actually need to trust the God plan. And to trust the God plan means you need to get rid of your own rational way of thinking, and you need to activate something that is irrational. Activate something that is irrational in you that makes you afraid, and execute on that, and you are boom. And here's the other thing I'm going to say. Get used to doing that for the rest of your life, because this is how we beat the matrix. Every time something that provokes your fear comes up, know that it is God giving you an opportunity to align with God. And yes, there will have to be some kind of difficult execution that will come. And this is how courage and trust and faithfulness, and this is how the holy walk. This is how the holy, the chosen, walk on earth. This is the walk. This is the new earth, baby. This is the new earth. I'm gonna summarize it right here, okay? Okay, here's the line. I love this. I'm so glad that I get to share this today. Here's the line. Here's fear. Here's God. God is truth. Okay, the divine is truth. In the middle is the bridge. Okay, that is where your heart already knows, and God meets you in that space. You hear God, you see God, you get downloads, you get the messages. Okay, you follow those. You trust that those happen. Along the way, there are going to be challenges. There are going to be challenges. There are going to be very big challenges. These can't be avoided if you are going to live the divine soul aligned life. The challenges are the gateway. When you go through the challenge, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to release the past, meaning whatever was provoking fear in you is going to get smaller. It's not that it's not going to have a voice. It's going to get smaller. What's going to happen as well is the dial is going to turn up on God. You are getting closer to God. You are getting closer to freedom. You are getting closer to the provision. You are getting closer to the land of milk and honey. And it does exist. It exists because we exist. We exist as children of the divine, and therefore, the way exists, the support exists. All right? All right, you guys, this has been Spiritually Rich. Thank you so much for being here. If you are a man or a woman who is ready to become unstuck, this is your lifeboat. Here's some ways that you can get on. Number one, you can book a coaching call with me. Number two, you can send me an email and be like, you know what, Carrie, I know that this is my lifeboat. I am on. I am in, because here's what I'm doing. I have a 4-month private coaching experience that is for women and men who have achieved a high level of spirituality, meaning you have been in this game for a very long time. You have either built a business and seen that business shift, or you are in the incubation phase of building a new business. And I am going to share with you how to navigate this gap, how to align with God's promise for you. And the other thing that I'm hearing right now is any spiritual business that has not been built on the foundation, on the rock of God, on the rock of truth, is going through an upheaval, because chaos comes before God creates the true foundation. But if you don't have the true foundation or know what the foundational elements are, then the business, the life, whatever it is, it won't hold it. And we're talking about foundational elements for some of you. Others, we're talking about doing some fine tuning to make sure that your bridge is built because you know how to ascend yourself. But again, we're in a new space. We are in a new space. And for being in a new space, it requires new tools and skills. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. You guys know how to get a hold of me if it resonates with you, and have a beautiful day.